all of these different people and that they are all so strong. They just like push through every day. And so that's kind of how the name I Love the Name Lyme came to be about, because it's like I love the way that you're handling this disease.
You're sick inside your body.
Do you go like by Claire Dalton, or do you go by your Chronically Claire, your Instagram, right?
Yeah, so most people know me as Chronically Claire on Instagram. My name is Claire Dalton, though. That's who I am. So, but that's my username. Most people, when you say Chronically Claire, they know who you're talking about.
Yeah. Yeah. I know, it's funny how like I was trying to explain to someone the other day. I was like, yeah, there's like this whole like Lyme community, and some people have like Lyme in their name, and they have these Lyme accounts and then their real accounts, and you know them by their handle. It's like it's almost like back to the instant message days where we
Yeah,
like know each other by our AIM names.
for
But
sure.
that's so funny. So yeah, I read your bio, and you are like, I'm so interested. I'm so excited for this conversation because there's so many things you're into that I'm just super eager to hear about. So let's start off by having you just like tell us about yourself. I saw that you farm, which I think is so awesome. And so tell us about yourself, and then we'll go into like your Lyme journey after that.
Sure. Yeah. So my name is Claire. I'm 25 years old, and my day job is I'm a farmer. And then I'm also work as a sales representative for my family's monument company. So I also sell headstones for a living, which is very unique, but I love it. And then on the side, I run the Chronically Care Project, which is a nonprofit organization. So that's a little bit about me. I was diagnosed with Lyme disease when I was 18. And so I always tell people I'm a college dropout because I stopped going to college when I got sick. And it just ended up being a stepping stone into what I'm doing now, into what I love, which is the farm and the Chronically Care Project.
Wow. Okay. So first, what do you farm? Like, do you do everything? Do you do like specific produce? What is it?
Yeah, so we do a little bit of everything. I feel like we're more on the level of like large homestead than we are just like
Nice.
big industrial farm. So we do a little bit of everything. We have goats, chickens, pigs, turkeys, rabbits, and we're kind of just in the process of learning how to do it all, how to, butcher your own meat and how to grow your own food. We also raise this huge garden every year. We've tried every kind of crop. It's been a really big way to not only provide food for us and for others, but to heal and to be able to take our food and to use it as medicine. And that was, I
Yeah.
think, one of the biggest things why we got into farming. And I never, ever, ever saw myself as a farmer until like now. I went to school as a vocal performance major, which is
No
very, very
way.
different
What?
from
Oh
farm.
my word.
So, I mean, I spent my days, in fancy dresses and singing and trying to look your best and always dressing to the nines and having a full face of makeup every day. And then just to have like that whole switch to, I go to work in jeans and a t-shirt and a heavy coat in the winter. And most of the time I barely do anything with my hair. It's just a huge like shift of personality and a
Wow.
shift of career. But it's what I love. I've tried many, many things trying to hold down a job and be sick at the same time. And
Yeah.
farming is the thing that has stuck for me, that not only does it have my heart, but it's something that I can get up and do, and it's good for my health. It's not damaging my health.
Yeah. That's so crazy. Okay, wait, where are you located? I just remember it's out west, right?
Yes, I'm located in Utah. I always say that I live in the middle of
Okay.
nowhere, Utah, because that is where I live. So
I was just watching a documentary on Utah last night. Something about there's a property where there's aliens, UFOs. I don't know what it's called. It's on Netflix.
just
And I'm
kidding.
like, wow, that's so crazy. And then I was thinking, I wonder if the people around, I'll have to message you the name to see if you know the area. Something Ridgeline or Skyline or something. I don't know if you've heard of it.
Oh,
But I was like,
interesting.
wow, I wonder if the people who live around that area even know that this is like they have UFO sightings.
I don't think so. That's the first time I've heard of that.
I'll send it to you. Watch, you're
Okay.
like, that's actually where I live. No, I'm just kidding. Um, Okay, so wow. Okay, so I want to talk about the vocal, but first, so how long have you guys been farming? Is it a more recent thing since you got sick, or
Yeah,
how is
so we've
that?
been farming for about, I would say 5 years. So I got 6, 7 years ago, and we started with like a little hobby farm. So I came home from college and we actually got our first two goats. We went to this farm in a different place in the middle of nowhere. And this was before we moved here. So like we were just doing our little like half-acre backyard farm. And we
Mm.
went to go get our first two goats. And I was actually so sick that I passed out on this lady's farm.
Oh my word.
And my dad had to carry me back to the car while we were looking for these goats that we wanted to get. And at the time, I mean, farming, I always planned to go back to college and get my vocal performance degree. And so I just was like, why are we doing this? Like, I feel horrible right now. And like, why do we need these goats? Like, I didn't get it. But it was just really cool to me how, like, God was just laying the stepping stones in my life for what I'm doing now
Mm.
and what I love now, because I didn't know
Yeah.
this is what I was going to do, but here I am and I love it. And I was so sick back then that I couldn't do anything. And then we moved here about 2 years after we got our first two goats. And this was just our escape. This is our
Mm.
last house was our sick house. We call it our sick house because
Oh wow.
we were so deathly ill and there was so much trauma just
Mm.
like related to being sick in that house that me and my mom were like, we got to get out of here. Like, we're not
Wow.
going to get another winter in this house. Like, we got to get out of here. So, my parents found this house and we came here and we started farming, and it was really funny in the beginning because we were just like guessing. Like, I just remember our garden being a jungle the first year because we didn't know like all of like the farming and homesteading hacks that we know now. I remember just sitting in the dirt and planting potatoes and like sobbing because I felt so bad, but
Oh.
like we didn't have a hired hand at the time, and like me and my mom were really sick and dad was just trying to do the best he could, and we just went from there. And then this year is the first year I've actually been well enough to really take on a major role on the farm, which has been so healing for me all by itself, and just realizing
Wow.
the potential and what I can actually do, not only as a woman, because farming is not something that women do very often, but also as a woman who is chronically ill, and to say that, I can still do a lot. I can't work as hard as a lot of our hired hands. I usually work a half day, and that's all I
Yep.
can do because I have Lyme disease. But it just shows me I can do a lot more than I ever imagined that I could do.
Yeah.
And so empowering. That
Wow.
alone has really healed just some of the mind trauma that goes on when you have Lyme disease.
Okay, so like in the future, I really have this like objective I want to do for I Love the Way You Lime, where I want to do retreats, and I'm feeling like a farm retreat. Maybe we come, we work half
That'd
the
be
day.
awesome.
Oh, that would be so cool.
That'd be
Um,
awesome.
wow, so it's become not only like something that your family does to like get your own food and everything and provide for you, but it's become like a family business, it sounds like.
Yeah, that's what we're working towards. People always
Mhm.
ask me, like, do you make a lot of money farming? And I always laugh because if you start any business, you don't make a lot of money in the
Mhm.
beginning. That's just how business goes. Um, like I said before, my family owns a monument company, and so thankfully we're in a
Oh,
place
right.
where like we can run this farm and start to build something amazing and something incredible with this farm. We're at the very, very beginnings right now. This was the first year that we really sold produce, and it was really cool because a lot of the local people that came here, they were like, there's no place to get local produce. I mean, the Walmart is 20
Wow.
minutes away, and Walmart sells really gross produce. And so they were like so just blown away that they could come somewhere and get locally organically grown produce, and that's a lot healthier, and they were so happy with that. So I really hope that like that's going to grow and that people are going to catch on to that. And so
Yeah.
that's what we're working towards, and it's slow and it's a journey, but I love it. And I tell people all the time, this is my college education. Like, I am not a farming expert. I didn't know anything when I got started, and now I'm butchering chickens and bringing baby goats into the world and planting produce. I used to say I was a plant killer because I couldn't grow anything. But here we are. And so it's just a matter of learning and growing and being willing to go with wherever it takes us.
Wow, that's so cool. I love that. Okay, so you were a vocal major. So I'm assuming, did you grow up singing and stuff? Like, what did you do with that?
Yeah, so I started taking I when I was really little, like 5, 6, 4, 5, 6, I did dance. I was never really that great of being a dancer. I'm not the most graceful person. And so, eventually when I was 8 years old, my mom was like, "Why don't we try voice?" And so I took voice lessons from the time I was 8 years old, and I was classically trained, so I was actually trained to sing, like, opera, and
Whoa, that's
I could
cool.
I could hit, like, really high notes at the time, which is interesting because 'cause I've lost all that now. Even my voice is very different now. I can still sing, but it's just
Mhm.
the difference between classical training and, like, modern training with voice, but that's what I wanted to go into, and I had this vision for my life that I was going to go to college, get my degree in vocal performance. I wanted to get married really young, and I wanted to have a lot of kids. Like, if I was on my track to life right now, I would be married and have 3 kids by now at this point in my life. And I had this whole plan, and then Lyme disease happened, and
Yeah.
then that plan went flying out the window, and I had to go home from college because I just couldn't handle any of it
Wow.
anymore. I was just too sick.
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about that. I know it's I don't know, I'm sure with what you're doing with your Chronically Care project, you met a lot of people like in the community, but that's just it's the same stories. Like we
Yeah.
a lot of people were pursuing something and Lyme kind of like redirected, but usually a lot of the people I talk to, like it ends up redirecting them, like you said, in a way that it shows you almost like more of who you were or more of your potential and puts you on a new path. And I feel the same way. I'm like, if I were what my plan was when I was like 18, I would just not be living where I'm living or where I
Mhm.
am and doing what I am. But I feel like that's like I don't know. I don't know how it works with like Lyme and God and stuff like that. I feel like that's like a lot something I write a lot about, but I do feel like he like uses all things for good and also that's just a good way you have a good way it sounds like of like looking at Lyme and like living your
Mhm.
life and pursuing things and that it says a lot about who you are and I'm just meeting you this is like our first real interaction face to face and so
Right.
I think I see that in you and I think that's like really important and also it's really inspiring because that's kind of what like the I love the Wee Lime Artisan Collective is all about. Like I want to be sharing people's stories who are like have Lyme, but they're making something of it by pushing through like the pain or symptoms or whatever they are. So
Mhm.
tell me about you said when you were 18, I think is when you got diagnosed. When did your symptoms start and what were your symptoms?
Yeah, so my symptoms actually started, I think, when I was in high school. I think my senior year of high school is when I started to notice something was wrong. But I was in
Mm.
high school. I was a senior in high school. It was the prime of my life. I wanted to go to prom and have friends and be normal. But my mom had already been sick with Lyme from the time I was 16.
Oh
So, like,
wow, okay.
my mom had been fighting this battle, and she was so sick when I was a junior and senior in high school that I
Mm.
went home from school every day not knowing whether mom would even be alive because she
No
was
way.
that sick. Like, she couldn't get out of bed, everything hurt. She was in constant pain. She had electrical sensitivity. So, like, we couldn't have phones in the house. We couldn't have our Wi Fi router
Wow.
on in the house. We couldn't because she could just feel like this pulse of like pain
Yeah.
through her if she even came near a cell phone. So, like, there were just things that, like, I already knew a little bit in the Lyme journey, and I had already seen. I actually went to live with my brother for a while because my mom was so sick, and like someone had to like take me to school. I got all of like the normal teenage things, like driving got put on hold. I couldn't even drive till I was
Mm.
18. I didn't get my license because my mom was so sick, and like the goal was let's keep mom alive. And
Wow.
so by the time I was 18, that's when I really started to notice things were wrong with me.
Mhm.
I would go to school, and the biggest thing for me is I have endometriosis, and I believe it's brought on by the Lyme disease. And so,
Yeah.
like, when I would start my period in high school, I would be in so much pain that I couldn't even like function. Like, I would have teachers come
Mhm.
up to me and be like, "Claire, are you okay?" And like at the time, I was embarrassed. I was like, I can't tell my
Right.
male teacher that I'm on my period and I feel like I'm about to puke. Like, this isn't normal and I can't tell anybody this. But like, I had to
Mhm.
have friends drive me home from school because the pain was so bad. Um,
Wow.
And so then, and the rest of it was neurological. So like I always had tremors in my hands. I'd have friends be like, "How come your hands always shaking?"
Wow.
I don't know. Like I don't know why they always shake. They just do. Or I had panic attacks that were just really bad, and they would come out of nowhere. The anxiety I
Yeah.
had was just, and I didn't even know to call it anxiety. I just know I had this like inner angst that was
Yeah.
caused by nothing. Like nothing bad was
Yeah.
happening in my life besides that my mom was sick, and that was really hard on me and really stressful.
Of
But as far
course.
as
Yeah.
like high school went, everything was okay, but I would just have these breakdowns. So I'd be like, where is this coming from? Like, this
Wow.
isn't right. And so I actually went to the doctor, but right before I went to college, and he ran one of those like really long blood tests. It was like 30 vials of blood where he
Mhm.
tested like everything except Lyme, pretty much. So
Oh
he was
my
testing
gosh.
my mold levels and my mycoplasma levels and like just all of the jazz of all the co-infections and everything. And so, but I went to college because I didn't have those test results back, and I was planning to go to college. I got a scholarship to be a vocal performance major. I already had everything, lined up, and I was like, "Okay, I'm going to do this." And I went to college, and it was just too much for me. I just couldn't.
Mm.
Like, I had muscle pain, I had nerve pain, I had just anxiety that I couldn't function. I had bad pain in my heels. Like walking to classes was horrible.
Wow.
I had such bad cognitive dysfunction that like one time I forgot to put my car in park and I ran into a wall in a parking garage because I
Oh my
couldn't
gosh.
like, process normal things like parking your car. Like I
Yeah.
would sit with my music theory tutor and he would show me exactly what to do on my music theory homework. And he'd say, "Kay, do you get it?" And I'd say, "Yeah, I get it." And then he'd be like, "Okay, now do this one yourself." And I just blanked. Like I have no
Wow.
idea what I'm doing all of a sudden when he just explained it to me, like it's the same concept. And so
Yeah.
so many bad brain problems. I had terrible brain fog. I had heart palpitations that were just through the roof. Like my heart would just suddenly start to like pound out of my chest.
Wow.
Like I felt like it was going to just jump out and run away for like no significant reason at all. Like even if there was nothing causing that. I
Yeah.
was always cold. I always had temperature problems. My vitals were never normal. There was something very, very wrong. And
Mhm.
eventually my mom was just like, "Claire, you can decide to stay and finish out the semester, or if you decide to come home, like we'll come get you." And I was like,
Mm.
"Really?" Like, and I thought about it and I actually went home before the semester was even over. So basically that entire college experience
Wow.
when I came home was worthless because I was like, I didn't get any credits, college credit at all. I didn't do anything besides
Yeah.
try and muddle through these classes and then fail all of them.
Wow.
So
Oh my
to me,
word.
I came home just this broken shell of a girl that felt
Mm.
broken and like a failure and useless. And I already at that point had so much healing to do, but I also didn't realize how much more suffering I was going to do too at that time. Like I remember coming
Wow.
home, just like collapsing on my floor and being like, "I am so glad I'm home, but now what?" Like, I don't know,
Yeah.
I don't even know what's next. And honestly, what was next was just being sick a lot and doing a lot of treatments and a lot of protocols. And I tried really
Wow.
hard to be normal for a while. And like, I would try and go to church and I would try to meet people and I would try to make friends. And um, eventually there had to come an acceptance. And when the acceptance came,
Mm.
that opened a door for healing for me, where it put me in a place that mentally I could handle what I was going through because I had an acceptance and I was done pretending to be normal. I didn't want to pretend to
Yeah.
be normal anymore. I'm not normal, and that's okay. I'm still not
Mhm.
normal. I still have little bits and pieces of myself that I see me trying to be normal in front of healthy people. And because I am
Yeah.
healthier now and I can do that. But then eventually I always realized to myself, you know what? I'm not normal. Like, I don't need to pretend
Yeah.
I'm normal, and it's okay to admit like I don't feel good. And like there's times that I have to do this with our hired hands where I'm like, I don't feel good, and I go inside because I don't, there's nothing I can do about it. And
Yeah.
it's just the acceptance. That's a door to heal. There's got to be some kind of an acceptance with the hope that you're gonna heal and that you're gonna get
Right.
better as well.
Yeah. Wow. So, okay, there's so many interesting things there. One, I feel like the acceptance thing I completely agree with, and I think I don't know what you think about this, but I kind of wonder. I deal with the same thing. I think most of us do with Lyme, especially once you hit that, like, whatever you want to call it, chronic long term. I hate like any words like that because it just sounds like
Yes.
hopeless. But when you're dealing with it after a long period of time, and that's something that I'm currently working through too, because it's like I think we're always going to want to try to feel normal or like act
Mm,
normal, and you don't want to always, I guess, act sick or anything. It's a very weird like
it's a balance.
thing. Yeah, it is. And something that Jake Myers, he's in the 5th episode,
Yeah.
um he talks about is he is like a transformational coach, and he works with people with Lyme, and something that he does, which is something that I want to try to do, is he helps people come up with like a way of explaining it so that other people will understand. And I've
Mm,
realized like that's something that I haven't done, and something that I'm still trying to do, because it's really easy to like I could hop on the phone with you next week and easily tell you how I'm feeling, because I know that you understand, like,
yeah.
to a certain degree, even though we just met, because I know your history with your health and everything and where you're at. But for me to like be that open to one of my best friends, I just can't do it. Like, I can
Yeah.
do it, but it just feels like it's so weird. It's not that you're two different people or that you're pretending. It's just really hard to be that open and vulnerable with someone who doesn't understand, because you don't want them to like feel bad for you or think that you're making it up, or I don't know. There's all these different things. So I feel like
Yeah.
the acceptance thing is super important. Also,
It's true.
it's so, yeah, go ahead.
Really think that the interaction with people through this disease is a whole nother aspect of healing that I had to learn, because you're dealing with, like, you're not just dealing with normal human interactions, you're dealing with people rejecting you and people betraying you and people making rude comments and acting like your disease is like something that's wrong with you or that it's sinful. And so you
Mm,
have to, like, first you have to gauge with the person you're talking to what kind of a
yeah.
response they're going to give
Yeah,
you, because
that's so
I
true.
don't need any more rejection in my life. I don't need any more rude comments. I don't need any more people telling me that, well, you just don't tell people you're sick. Just don't tell it. Like I need to be ashamed of something that is out of my control. And so
Mhm.
it's a whole nother realm that you have to learn how to navigate. And that for me has been one of the hardest things, is navigating the people part of this disease, because I
Yeah.
never know, like, what response I'm going to get from people, even if I have like a perfectly planned answer as to what my disease is like. So
Mhm.
it's a whole other aspect of healing.
Yeah, I know. And how you said like that, you said something about people could think it's like sinful or whatever. I'll never forget one time I was at this church. It was actually the church in Nashville I went to, and there was this guy who was just visiting, and we were talking with other friends about how I was about to do stem cell, and one of my friends had mentioned it, and I like didn't back then, especially, like, didn't like really talking a ton about my health journey unless it was like, I guess, for a purpose. And this guy who I didn't even know, I just met him, was like, "Well, you must not have enough faith that you're going to be healed. That's why you're not healed yet." And I just remember, like, it was almost like someone pushed a button and I started sweating and my blood started boiling. And I just said, "That's not the case. I really believe I can be healed. It just hasn't happened yet." And that's all that I felt like needed to be said, because I didn't need to go further. But it's, you get it from all areas. You don't know how people are going to respond that don't like maybe have the same faith as you. And then the people who do have the same faith as you, um I don't know, there's a lot of people who in my experience like pray for me and are like super supportive of everything. But even another thing that I've experienced a lot, I don't know if you feel this way, but the weight of people saying they're going to pray for you and then asking if you're better yet is like the biggest weighted blanket that
Yes.
can't be sold because no one can pick it up. It's too heavy.
Yeah, it's true. Or, I mean, the biggest thing for me in my experience with that is that the people in your own church are sometimes that have the same faith per se that you have.
Mm,
They are the ones that will sometimes treat you the worst. because
Mm.
they just don't get it. And I always say you don't get it until you get it. So, the
Yeah,
people
that's
that I
true.
interact with that are sick, they get it. And so they can offer love and compassion. But the people who I always say I feel like I live in two different worlds because I'm getting better now. That
Yeah.
I live in this world where one second I'm on my bathroom floor puking my guts out and having bad pain, and like nobody in my life that is like not on the internet besides my parents, they never see that. They only see the
Yeah.
Claire who's up and working on the farm. So like they can't fathom that. And when you meet someone who's willing to come into your life when you're deathly, deathly ill, like
Mhm.
keep that person because they're very rare and
Mhm.
they don't most of the time those people don't, even if they come once, they don't come back again, or they say I'll pray for you, but they don't know how to actually enter into your suffering and to bear your burdens
Mm.
with you. I really think that's what God asks us to do, is to bear people's burdens.
Mm.
And most people, they're willing to pray for you or to say that they're praying for you, but then they're also willing to judge you and to decide that maybe there might just be something wrong with you and maybe
Mm.
that's why you're still sick. And it's just not that way. Like sick people are some of the most beautiful people that I've ever met. And I always tell healthy people, like, spend one day with a sick person, just one day, it'll change your life.
Yeah.
And I'm sure people think I'm crazy, but it's true. I believe it 100%.
No, I agree, and I think that the only negative experience I experienced was, like, that one at the church, and really, every time someone says like, I know from my at least my experience, like, I know the people from church mean well when they're saying they pray for
Mhm.
me, and I know they really are praying for me, and half the time I'm like, that's probably what helps me get through every day is, like, knowing I have people rallying behind me. I think it's it's like they mean well, but they don't understand, and like you said, they don't get it till they get it, and honestly, I don't want them to get it because I don't want them to suffer, but I also realize it's probably on me to instead of just saying, "Yeah, I'm fine, I'm doing well, I still have the pain," like, maybe I should actually be a little bit more open and, like,
Mhm.
really share where I'm at because it's not fair for me to say that I inside I'm feeling, like, misunderstood or people don't understand the pain when I just stopped talking about it. You know what I mean? So, it definitely
Yeah.
goes on both ends, and that's another thing I'm working on is, like, figuring out how to talk about it again because it's
Mhm.
easy to talk about it, like, online on
Yeah.
with my Lyme friends or whatever, but I feel like it's all about balance too, how vulnerable you wanna be
Oh
and
yeah.
everything, but
Oh, yeah. It's
yeah.
all about learning the balance between saying too much and not saying enough. Like, I think we definitely have to educate people. People need to be educated. But then I also feel like there's a time when I have to back up and
Yeah.
realize, yeah, I'm giving them too much. So it's a huge balance, and it's something I'm not good at. It's something I don't know if anybody's good at. But we work towards it because the education, the advocacy is so needed in this community.
Yeah.
Lyme disease is just the forgotten disease. Like people don't even know that it exists. And I think that's really heartbreaking for all of us who suffer with Lyme disease.
Yeah. Yeah, I completely agree, and I was, talking to someone the other day about how there's a lot of, like, resources online, like, there's so many different I don't know if they're all nonprofits, but a lot of, like, at least accounts that I've seen that share, like, a lot of the facts and everything, and I always go back and forth because 'cause I'm like, I don't wanna be another account that does the facts because first of all, there's just so many, so the best way I feel like is just by telling people's stories because one thing that
Mhm.
I've talked about on the podcast and that we have on the website is like people can deny facts, but they can't deny your story. So I could post a fact and there's going to be like a nurse or a doctor's like, I didn't learn that. That's not true. But if
Yeah.
I have like a clip of Claire telling her story of how she's feeling, well, they guess they could choose not to believe you, but then that's a them problem.
Right.
That's not a
Fair.
you problem.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, so it's so interesting your mom had Lyme before you, so I kind of have a couple questions there. Did you say your mom got diagnosed when you were 16 or when did everything for her start? And
Um,
also if you don't want to tell her story cuz I want to respect her too cuz we're interviewing you. I don't know how much she wants to share, of course.
Yeah, my mom and I are really close, and we always say that our stories are intertwined because like
Mm.
they're the same. So I know she's okay with like because we've been together from the very beginning with our journeys, and so um, you know, for her it's that she got sick and I was like learning the caregiver, like the emotional, seeing somebody you love so deathly ill. And then
Wow.
it was like a turnaround because then I'm deathly ill. And then my mom, I mean, me and my mom, we have both, peeled each other off the floor after passing out. And
Oh my
we both,
gosh.
had to curl each other's hair and blow dry each other's hair and help each other, get out of the shower. Like just all these things that like you never even think that would be taken away from you when you're young.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
is. And you're like, whoa. So me and my mom have been through it all.
Wow.
My mom was always sick. I remember she was always sick growing up, but it was like an ebb and flow. So she'd get really sick for a
Okay.
while, then she'd get better. Winters are really hard in Utah. So it's usually the winter she'd get really, really sick and then she'd get better. And it was just like that. And I'm the youngest in my family. So like she had a whole bunch of children before me. I'm 6 years younger than my youngest brother. So I feel
Okay.
like it was almost like a separate family almost because I just
Mm.
had a totally different experience than my siblings did growing up in a house full of other kids, where by the time I was 14, all my siblings were moved out. And
Oh, okay.
before that, all except like one was moved out and he was a teenager.
Mhm.
So, teenagers are always gone. So I
Yeah.
was basically on my own. And so mom started getting sick probably when I was 15. She
Okay.
wasn't diagnosed. We had no idea what Lyme disease was. We had no idea that somebody could get this sick. All of our
Yeah.
doctors, like mom would go to the hospital and the doctor would be like, there's nothing with all of your symptoms. So I don't know what's wrong with you. And my
Wow.
mom would just be like,
Yeah.
okay, well, rip this IV out of my arm and I'm going home then. Like, 'cause if
Oh
you
my
can't help
word.
me, what am I going to do? And that would be after she's been like having seizures and like passing out and like not even fully conscious. And the doctors, there's nothing I
Wow.
can do. And so we did that and we went to all the doctors and my mom took all the medications and eventually like all of the medications that the doctors were prescribing, me and dad just looked at it and dad was like, this is making you worse. Like
Wow.
this is working. This is making you so much sicker. And so my mom got off the medications because like what do you do when you're getting sicker and sicker and apparently
Yeah.
these medications are supposed to work. And so it wasn't until we found like Utah has very, very little resources for Lyme disease. So we found some doctors that had kind of heard about it. So like our first experience with a Lyme doctor,
Oh
he
my word.
basically handed my mom this book and said, this is a book about Lyme disease. Now you can read it and help me treat you.
Oh my gosh.
That would be $500, like it's like,
Wow.
so we started to suspect that she had Lyme disease. My mom is a researcher. So we all just started, mostly my mom, but me and my dad did what we could. We mostly just started researching and trying to figure out like, what is this? What is going on? And my mom
Wow.
was misdiagnosed with everything under the sun. So fibromyalgia and MS, like everything. And eventually she got a Lyme test and it didn't even really come back positive. It came back like equivocal or whatever that means. And
Mhm.
we were just kind of like, I think that this is what it is. And so we started my mom started doing Lyme treatments that we could find that were more natural. The first treatment she went on was called the BX protocol. I don't even know if that exists in America now. It's basically an energy catalyst. And it
Oh.
oxygenates your cells and then it gives your cells the information to kill the bacteria, essentially, is what it is.
Whoa. I've never
And
heard of that
so
before.
yeah, because I don't think it's even a thing in America anymore. I think you have to go to Jamaica or something for it. And I know that the doctor in charge of it has, he's had a lot of conflict with it. And so my mom went on
Disappeared.
that first. Yeah. And so my mom went on that first. And then about when she was on that after her first year, that's when I got sick. And so I went on it right away because we already had
Wow.
this experience. And the doctor who did the BX protocol, he basically told me like, okay, so you can either come home from college now and start treatment, or you can stay at college and take a chance that like you might not make it when you get home from college. So I'm thinking,
Mhm.
so start treatment or die. Is that what I'm hearing? And yeah, essentially that's what he was saying. And so I actually started treatment at college, which was horrible because I had
Mm.
to sleep with oxygen tubes. And like being the 18-year-old in your apartment that has to sleep with oxygen tubes,
Whoa.
it's like,
They
oh,
go up
please.
your nose?
Yeah. And it
Okay.
was super miserable. And like oxygen tubes for me, it like burned all the way through my sinuses. I was
Oh
like,
my
this is
word.
painful. And then you wake up in the middle of the night, you're all like tangled up in your tubes. And the thing that produces the oxygen is so loud. It's like super loud humming noise all night long. And I just felt like, what am I doing? And then I had to wake up every morning, had to record all my vitals. I had to like record all of my symptoms and rate them from 1 to 10. And there was like a big chart that my
Wow.
doctor around me fill out. So all these extra things on top of taking 18 credits and going to all my college classes. And I was volunteering at a high school choir as well. And I was like, this is insane. What am I doing? And so
Wow.
that's when eventually I broke down. I was just like, I can't do all this and go to
Yeah.
school and be normal and pretend to be normal. I can't do that. And so that's when mom and dad came and got me, and my never ending plethora of treatments began at that point. So
How long did you do that? What, and can you spell the treatment?
it's called the
What's it?
BX protocol. So
Oh,
BX.
BX. Okay.
Yeah.
And you're hooked up through oxygen. Is that the main part of the treatment? You're hooked up through the night?
So the hooking up to the oxygen, and it's different for everybody. So for me, it was sleep on it because I was going to college. There was nothing else I could do. My mom would just sit on
Oh,
oxygen for about 2 hours a day. That's what she would do. So she didn't have to sleep in them. So the
wow.
doctor would change it depending on the person. But that's what oxygenates your cells and gets them open. And then the energy catalyst is just a bottle. It's like a homeopathic, essentially, give or take. And I would just take like 2 or 3 sprays under the tongue, and then that's what goes in and like gives your cells the information to
Oh.
kill the bacteria. And so that's what I did. And there's like different bottles that he would mail us and that we would take. And he would tell us which ones to take and which ones were stronger. And I just remember when we went on the stronger ones, we'd be like, oh my goodness, we're taking this. And I don't know if we can handle it. The one thing about the BX protocol is I don't think we were taught how to detox properly with the BX protocol.
Oh, wow.
And
So you're like
so
just
we
killing
had
off the ton.
insane herxing. Like I remember my first herx when I came home from college, I was in so much pain. Like I couldn't even open my eyes. I was in so
Wow.
much pain. And like I was pretty stubborn back then, so I tried to like function, but I remember getting up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom, and as I was walking out of the bathroom, I like passed out cold on the floor. And like I just remember waking up and just sobbing because I'm like, I don't know where I am, I don't know what I'm doing. And I'm sure my parents heard the thud, and that's what got them to like run.
Oh my word.
And so, but I just remember being so sick that actually I had 2 beds in my room, 2 twin beds on either side of the room, so that my dad, when I was really, really bad, he could sleep in the room and monitor me. Like that's how bad it was for so long.
Wow.
So that
That's
was
so
kind of the
crazy.
beginning.
It's crazy your family like was going through that with your mom and with you.
Mm-hmm.
Like as you're talking about you both being sick, it just was making me so sad because I love my mom so much, and like I can't
Yeah.
picture her being sick, and like that probably was a lot for you to process as a teen on top of like all these other symptoms that you had
Mm-hmm.
going on. And from what I've heard, which sometimes I'm like, I just don't know it's true anymore, but it seems like Lyme, if it's dormant, comes out under stress and stuff like that. So you
Yeah.
even wonder if like you were
Mm-hmm.
stressed by all that you were trying to like process in school and like live a
Yeah.
normal life while your mom
I'm
was sick
pretty
and then you
sure.
got it.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what happened. I mean, being a teenager and going through all these life transitions is really stressful anyway. I mean, you're stressing about all the things that you realize you shouldn't have stressed about when you're an adult. You know, you're stressed about, am I going to get asked to prom? Am I going to pass the ACT? Am I going to pass my finals? Am I going to graduate? Am I going to, am I going to get this scholarship? Like, there were so many things that I just remember stressing about that I'm like, why did I worry about all that stuff back then? But that was a cause of stress. And then on top of that, my mom was really sick. And there was actually a time in my senior year of high school too that I got really sick for about a month, and I was out of school for like a whole month. And that just added to my stress because I went to a private school. So we were doing like college level work at this school, and
Wow.
I couldn't keep up with it. I was like, this is impossible. And I was so sick for so long that I got really behind, and I was really afraid I wasn't going to graduate high school. And like to me, that would have been horrible at the time. Like that would have been the end of my world when I was in high school to not graduate. And so I had to work really hard to do that through not feeling well. And then the whole transition of college, I hated leaving home. I didn't
Yeah.
like, I don't know if I was ready as an 18-year-old, probably just because I was sick. I don't know if I was ready to leave home at age 18.
Mm-hmm.
I just felt like my whole world had been like ripped from me. And
Wow.
so, and my mom was still sick. So like, I was like,
Yeah, that's a
I'm
lot.
going 3 hours away. My mom is still sick. Like this is crazy. But I just did what I feel
Wow.
like I was supposed to do as a young person, and then I just imploded. I just couldn't do it.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like you handled the high school part well because like you sound like you're a really great student. I totally slacked. I was just telling my husband the other day, I was like so excited when I'd get a B minus on anything,
Yeah, so
but
for me,
just blame
I
it on
was
the Lyme.
I was the same way, but it was that I actually had a teacher tell me in college, Claire, I feel like a lot of kids, it's a lack of effort. And he didn't
Mm.
understand Lyme disease, so he goes, but Claire, I feel like for you, it's just a lack of skill.
Oh my gosh!
I
What
was
the
like,
heck?
I went home and like fell apart because he basically told me that I needed to change my major. And at the time, singing was all I knew. I was like, I don't know how to do anything other than sing. Like math, I was terrible at math. I'm not a very book smart person per se, but I'm very smart in like hands-on stuff. I'm very smart when it comes to just
Mm.
getting in and getting a job done. And I don't think he understood that. But anyway, my whole world just fell apart when he told me that I just lack
That's
skill. And
horrible.
that's my problem.
Well,
So
look at you now. So you farm, he probably doesn't. So you get good food.
yeah, pretty
He
much.
probably
Like,
buys his from the store, you don't.
yeah, exactly. He's probably just still teaching, music in college. Like, I don't want to do that my whole life.
That's so funny. Oh my gosh. Okay, so can you tell me some of the treatments that I'm just interested because there's so many different kinds. What are some of the treatments that you've tried?
Yeah, I feel like we've done a little bit of everything. So I've done herbal protocols. Herbal tinctures have played a really big part. So things like cryptolepsis, red sage. Red sage is a really awesome painkiller for all those women
Wow,
out there.
really?
Terrible. Yeah. So this is what I'm doing now actually is um, big doses of red sage and cryptolepsis on my period. It kills my pain. And that's the first thing I found that actually will kill my
I
pain,
need to write this down.
and it's amazing. So I would highly recommend that. And I know it's really scary to take that much cryptolepsis when you have Lyme disease. And if you are not detoxing, so if you're not sweating and going to the bathroom regularly and drinking lots of water, don't take that much cryptolepsis. You're not there yet. But if you have like your detox pathways open, I would highly recommend taking larger doses because like for me, I was so scared to take more than like a drop of crypto. And then I started taking, so I basically take 4 dropperfuls of cryptolepsis, and then I take 6 dropperfuls of red sage, and I do that, and then it will kill. And at first, it hits you, so like you feel like an elephant is sitting on you, and that lasts for about 10 minutes, and then
Whoa.
it goes away, and your pain subsides. And so then I just
What?
wait until the pain comes on again, and then I take it again, that big of a dose, and that
What
really helps me.
do you only take it during that time or do you take this all the time?
Yeah, so I tried to take it all the time. Crypto is really hard. Neurological Lyme, I think I have neurological Lyme because I have so many neuro symptoms. And so, like, if I take it all the time, I'm just like a panicked wreck and I can't handle it. So I just take
Wow.
it when I'm on my period and when I'm in pain. I used to take it like that much 3 times a day for 3 days. But I realized that's a lot too. So I just take it when I need it, when I'm
Can
in
you
pain.
spell it?
Cryptolepsis.
Yeah, I've
Um,
never heard of it.
yeah, CRY crypt. Let's see, CRYPOT. I don't know. I have to look at it. I'm a
I can
visual
look it
learner.
up too.
Yeah, cryptolepsis is a very like lots of Lyme people have heard of cryptolepsis. It's CRYPTOLEPSIS. Cryptolepsis.
Nice. Okay.
Really big Lyme herb. It kills lots of things. It's a killer. So that's why
Wow.
you do have to be careful because it kills. But red sage is like really, if you're not going to try the crypto, I would try the red sage because that's a big painkiller. Red sage in large amounts kills pain. At least it does
Wow.
for me. So when it comes to the menstrual pain, that's how I deal with it now. Granted, you need lots of things in your toolbox, but that's one of the
Yeah.
main ways to do it.
Does it help with the like body pain? Like just like if you people have fibromyalgia, like does it help with that?
Yeah, so my mom takes it for that, and I feel like my mom has a lot more complicated of a version of Lyme than I do because she just has a harder time kicking it, but it does help her. It maybe doesn't help her as much as it helps me, but it still helps her. So I would definitely try it and see how that goes.
Wow, yeah, I'm super anything that helps with I haven't found one thing that like touches my pain, so I'm super
Yeah, I
eager to
get
try
that. I've
that.
been there. So then the other thing, especially for pain, since we're talking about pain right now, I use homeopathics as well. So belladonna and magphos are my go-to homeopathics for my menstrual pain, and honestly, just for any pain, I think those would work. So belladonna is for like burning pain. So the first thing that happens when I start my period is I just have like burning, like it's like someone just lit my uterus on fire, as graphic as that sounds. It's horrible. And so that's for the burning pain. And then the magphos it's magnesium phosphate is what it's called, I think. And
Oh, okay. Magnesium
essentially,
phosphate.
yeah, it's a cell salt, and you can actually just get it on Amazon. It's really easy. Belladonna might be a little bit harder to find. You might have to go to like actually like a health website to get belladonna.
Yeah.
But magphos is for like the cramping, which I have that too. That comes on later. And the thing with homeopathics is you can take more than just one dose. So I take 4
Yeah.
pellets of belladonna, 4 pellets of magphos. You wait 15 minutes. If your pain isn't gone, you take it again.
Whoa.
And you do that until your pain subsides, because it's not a drug. It's not like forcing your body to do anything. It's just giving your body the information it needs to do what it's supposed to do. And so I take 4 pellets of each of those every 15 minutes until the pain goes down. I wouldn't recommend taking over 8 doses. If it still hasn't gone down after 8 doses, I'd probably say try something else. But generally, I take like 6 or 7 doses, and then all of a sudden it will feel better. So
That's
I'd
so
highly
crazy.
recommend that. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So homeopathics are another big thing. And actually, homeopathics are wonderful for like if you get sick on top of Lyme, like if you get a cold or you get the flu or whatever, homeopathics are great because they help you to like tamper down other symptoms. And homeopathics don't cause as much herxing in my experience as herbs do. So love homeopathics. So I've done the herbs, the homeopathics. We've done red light therapy, which is really great. For honestly, the red light, I just love having that tool in my toolbox, because if you get an injury or something, it's like the best way to heal burns and cuts and stuff. But that has nothing to do with Lyme disease. The red light is really good for, it can be good for pain, but it's really just good for regeneration, I think. So like I'll put the red light like over my lower abdomen to help like regenerate and to heal the uterus, because I mean, you can kill, but if you don't take time to like heal and restore the tissue, that's what the red light is for. So definitely red light therapy is amazing for that. Also using red light for your skin. So like I've always had bad skin lesions, bad breakouts, cystic acne, stuff like that. My skin is so much better.
So good. Yeah.
Never been that way, and it's still not perfect, but it's like I'm not just like covered in like rashes and acne now like I was before. Red light is so good for that. Like use the red light for your skin. So we did that. The sauna detox protocol, that was a big one. Basically,
sauna detox.
And you can look this up on the internet. Just type in sauna detox protocol. They have different versions of it. Essentially, what you do is you take a certain amount of supplements. People always say, but does the sauna make you really sick? Okay, well, you got to learn to do it correctly and to do it right. So yes, if you do it wrong, it's going to make you deathly ill, because like you need to be restoring your nutrients while you are in the sauna. So basically we would start out with a certain amount of vitamins, and then we would take a dose of niacin, and then you exercise for 30 minutes after you take your dose of niacin. And so generally I could just like walk on a treadmill. That's all I could do. I was too sick to do anything else. Or like we had like a rebounder, and I would just like shake up and down on the rebounder. So I did that or that, and that kind of activates the niacin in your system. And then you have what's called a niacin flush. It burns really bad, but it brings all the bacteria to the surface of your skin. So then you get in your sauna, okay, and you sit in your sauna for 30 minutes, and you drink juice. So like organic juice yourself, juice. And don't ever do this by yourself, ever. Like make sure someone's there monitoring you. My dad had to do this with me and my mom every day for about 2 months. So you get in for 30 minutes and you drink juice while you're sitting there. And then you get out and you cool down for 10 minutes. And then you get back in and you go for another 30 minutes and you drink water. Make sure you're drinking the whole time if you're going to do this, or you're not going to make it. And then you get out and you cool down, and then you get back in for another 30 minutes. Okay. And we did that 3 or 4 rounds every day. So it lasted anywhere from an hour and a half to 2 hours just sitting in the sauna. And that's not counting like taking your supplements and exercising and doing all that stuff. And basically it's just, you're sweating out all the toxins that you bring to the surface of your skin. And you just have to realize you're sweating out all your toxins. So like you're going to have emotional outbursts, and you're going to have tears, and you're going to have passing out, and you're going to have possibly throwing up. Like, yes, you're herxing, but it gets it out. And that's what was really helpful to me, is that, yeah, you feel bad while you're in the sauna, But then afterwards, you may feel totally wiped out because you just did a major protocol, but
Yeah.
you don't have like as much pain or as much brain fog, like all of a sudden. And then all of a sudden you do it for a month or two and you're like, oh, I feel so much better during the day now. And then you don't have to do
Wow.
it as much anymore. So if I was to do it now, we have a sauna that you just go inside of it. Me and my mom did it together. But if I was to do it now, I would get the sauna that your head sticks out of because I actually think that's healthier. I
Oh,
don't know
I
if it's,
have one of those.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it's super healthy to be in that much heat all like your whole body,
Your
including
head.
your
Yeah.
so but I mean it didn't hurt us. It definitely did a lot of good for us. So I would recommend the
Wow.
sauna. And if you don't do it that extreme, just do it for 30 minutes and make sure that you're drinking water and you're drinking juice, because otherwise that's what makes it so bad. And like y'all got to
Mhm.
drink because otherwise you're going to feel way worse when you get out.
Oh my gosh, I swear like pretty much every person that I've met in the Lyme community has like so many hacks, and there's so many different like detox protocols and like treatments, and I'm like, okay, if we just all put our brains together
Yeah,
and
for real.
somehow develop something, can't we figure out like a way to just, I don't know. Part of the problem is not problem, but there's so many options. I'm like, how do you
Yes.
know what to
Well,
try or what not to try?
and like something that works for me may not work for somebody else because it's so different.
Yeah,
So like me and my mom have talked to so many Lyme people about how to get well from Lyme. People really ask us like a lot, what are you doing? What are you doing? And it's almost like everybody wants to have like this one size fits all answer.
I
And
know.
it's like they want us to like take on the role of their doctor. And like as much as I love helping people, I have to approach it from like, well, this is what we've done. But like
Yeah,
you got to try it and you got to listen to your body. You got to do what God's telling you to do because it may not work the same way. Um,
yeah,
like my things I say that everybody should do: change your diet, get good sleep, and drink
yeah.
more water. Those are the three things everybody should do. But beyond that, like you just got to figure out
It's a
what works
free
for
for
you.
all.
Pretty much. Like as terrible as that sounds, we're all
No,
just
I
different.
know.
Even me and my mom, we're so different, and we each have to do different things for our health.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. Wow, that's so much. I literally have a notepad just like filled with notes. um, cool. I love learning more. I wish I had this brain when I was in school because I probably would have been like a better student, but I also think the healthier I've gotten, the more like I'm taking a course online for like hormones to regulate hormones, and I'm just like really curious because I realize that I don't know, like I want to go see a specialist, but to me it seems like hormones play a big part with my physical pain. So I have the physical pain all the time, but then whenever it's that time of the month, like I can't even explain how bad the pain gets. I can't think
Yes,
straight. I
I
have the
feel
brain
you.
fog. I just feel like
Yes.
completely debilitated. And so I was
Yeah.
talking to my husband. I'm like, this isn't normal. Like, so what is it? Is my certain hormones are spiking up, and then you know what I mean? I'm just trying to figure it out. And then like I
Yeah.
want to have kids eventually, but my
Mhm.
biggest fear is this is probably TMI for a podcast, but my biggest fear is like being pregnant and being stuck in that pain. Like I
Yes.
have no idea what will happen when I have those hormones from having some from
Yes.
being
Yeah,
pregnant. So I'm
I get
trying to
that. And
understand.
if it makes you feel any better too, like almost every woman I talk to with Lyme disease, they have the same problems that we do. Their pain is just unbearable. And like
Yeah.
people that are healthy, like the women I talk to that are healthy, they're like, "Oh, Claire, everyone has period pain." And I'm like, "No, like you don't understand. Like my pain is so bad, I'm puking my guts out and having seizures. Like
Yeah.
that's how bad that my pain is." And it's so common with people with Lyme disease, and whether it's endometriosis or it's bacterial infection in your uterus and ovaries, or whether it's cancer, which is very possible, it could be cancer for a lot of us because Lyme is a precursor to cancer.
Mm-hmm.
There's just so many things that it could be that, again, that's why it's so important that we go on our own journey and we figure out what works for us. And
Yeah.
the biggest thing too is that the period stuff is the one thing that I can't seem to like it gets a little bit better every little bit better in little teensy baby steps. It gets better, but there's nothing that just like is a magic fix all for the period pain. I
Yeah.
mean, I'm very hormonal the 3 days before my period. It's like anything will make me fall apart. Like even just one
Mm.
unkind word from a person, I will just fall apart because I just can't, for some reason, I don't emotionally process stuff the same way I do
Aw.
other times of the month. And so, and part of it is the fear. Like fear is a whole nother aspect of healing. So I'm so afraid because I know that the pain is coming. I know I'm about to have like this horrible traumatic experience that I have every month of my life. And I also know that I have to basically sit in my house and just disappear from the world. And then I'll come back 4 days later and nobody will even know that I went through that. And it's like really
Yeah,
emotional.
it's very traumatic. It really is very traumatic. So, just to be
Mhm.
clear though, you have because it's almost like we're talking about like your pain and symptoms from Lyme are seem like to be worse for most people, like you said, most women on their
Mhm.
period, but then you still have symptoms out do you still have symptoms outside of when
I
you
have
have that time in the month?
I have very few symptoms now, and it's
Okay.
awesome. Like I have very few symptoms
Wow.
outside of the time of the month. That's like my biggest struggle right now is the time of the month, and I still have neurological things. So like I'll have days
Okay.
where I'll have tremors suddenly, or like I'll just feel like a weakness, and I'm like, oh, why do I feel super weak all of a sudden? And I know it's
Mm,
a Lyme day, and I have to just like take it easier than usual. I have anxiety is something I definitely deal with, but I also think some of the neurological things are triggered by the trauma. I feel like I'm in like a
mm,
big just time in my life where I'm healing from trauma. And healing from
yeah.
trauma is like one of the hardest things in my mind
Yeah.
because like you have to process it and so you have to almost relive it to process
Yeah.
it, but you also don't want to dwell on it. So it's like letting go and processing it and all of it all at the same time. And
Yeah.
it's
It's
really
really
hard.
crazy. Have you
Hmm.
heard of neurofeedback?
Probably it sounds familiar. What is it?
So I think there's different types. I did neurofeedback. Gosh, I think it was. Sorry. Let me think. I think I started in the summer of 2021, and so I'll do my best to explain it, but I know I'm not going to do the best job. Um, so basically, the first thing you do is you go and you get a um my brain fog's really bad. That's like one of my worst symptoms. It's a
Yeah, I get you.
scan. Oh, it's called QEEG scan. And so what it does is you do it with your eyes closed for like 10 to 15 minutes and you do it with your eyes open 10 to 15 minutes. And it's scanning like all different parts of your brain. So when I went, she could see like the areas that Lyme really affected. And then the worst parts for me were like the two back spots in my head and then the two top. I think the top was like C3 and C4 or something.
Hmm.
And the back was so bad that she thought I'd gotten like in a car accident or been like hit or something back here. And I've never been in an accident or like, I don't know, I've just never really had anything
Hmm.
like at least that I can recall up and back there. But the reason that I went to neurofeedback in the first place was because I was having these flashbacks, like just come out of nowhere from different traumatic like events that
Yes.
some that I had knew had happened and then some that I had a feeling happened, but I didn't know exactly what happened.
Hmm.
And it was like the flashbacks were so real, like it was like
Hmm.
someone put on a quick movie for me. And
Yeah.
but I would just be like in the grocery store. Like one time I was just like at the beach and there would be certain things that triggered some of the things and other times I
Hmm.
didn't know what the triggers were. So I went to her and I got the scan and sitting down with her, like everything made complete sense. And basically I told her like the different protocols I'd been on, the different types of treatment I'd done. And the way that she explained it to me was that my brain was finally at a place that it was wanting to heal and that it was trying to heal, which is why she said you
Yes.
start getting those flashbacks when your brain is healing. But
Hmm.
I was stuck in it because my brain needed like help getting past that point of just like kind of I guess being stuck in the trauma. So I did the treatment and some of my symptoms before the treatment I was having like insane insane anxiety, like panic attacks out of nowhere. But it would be panic attacks where like my husband and I would just be sitting on the couch and in my head I'm like thinking, okay, if there's a fire, I have to get out this way or I can get out this way. And what happens if all of a sudden I used to get these like episode things where I couldn't talk. What happens if I have an episode? Where's my medication to slow it down? Like just like a million different thoughts going through my head
Yeah.
while I'm just trying to watch TV, or like even just not
Yes.
watch TV and listen to music. And
Yes.
so after doing her treatment, I stopped having the panic attacks, the anxiety went away. Like occasionally, I haven't had like any sort of panic attack. Occasionally, I'll get like the anxious thing, but I think that's also because I've been really bad about doing treatments and stuff. I just haven't really been taking care of myself as probably good as I should be. But for a full year, really, I like had no anxiety at all. I felt like so good. I'm still healing from like those events, but the stuff that hurt me when I thought about it before doesn't like hurt the way it did.
Yes.
I don't know. It's something that anytime someone brings up trauma, I think there's so many different versions of, I think, trauma
Yes.
therapy, but that one was really helpful for me.
Yeah, that's awesome. I feel like I've done similar things. What I've done for my trauma therapy, we do what's called deep emotional release. And I don't know if you've ever heard of meridian stress assessment or bioresonance scanning, but essentially it's just a device that scans like the energy systems in your body. It scans your meridians and it
Whoa.
can pick up on things that are out of balance, including your emotions and your traumas. And it's
What?
really
It's called the Meridian scale?
It's called meridian stress assessment or
Oh,
resonance scanning. It's the same thing, but people refer to it both of those ways. But you just
okay.
hold two probes and it scans your energy systems. And so that's been a big thing to help us figure out, like, where's the Lyme at? Where is this at? Like, do I have this? Or,
Wow.
but then also, it really helps with the emotions. So just running an emotion scan and then being able to pinpoint. It's so crazy that you're describing that because this year has been my mental battle here. Like exactly what you're describing. I just would have horrible flashbacks of like traumatic events, except it's almost like in my head, it would be 20 times worse than what actually happened back then.
Mm.
And so like, I just was feeling so tormented by like these
Wow.
thoughts and these traumatic experiences, these flashbacks. And so we started doing deep emotional release, and you can use bioresonance scanning, or you can do what we call sound therapy, where essentially you take tuning forks and you can look up tuning the human biofield on the internet, and that's what we learned. I don't agree with everything that woman says, so like don't think I'm like, yeah, she's right about everything, because you got to take what's right and what's not. But essentially the idea is that you're taking you don't just get rid of your traumas. People act like you just like, oh, they're gone. Okay. But
Yeah.
actually your traumas hang out in your energy field. So we all have an aura, and your traumas hang out in your energy field. And the goal is to bring them back into your center, actually, so that you can use them for something good. But if they're floating
What?
in the field, they're just tormenting you all the time. So you got to bring them back into your center so you can use them for something good. So what you do with the tuning forks is you take the different hertz, like the different frequencies of the tuning forks, and there's different ones that you can pick from in this system. She teaches you about this online too. And then essentially you're learning how to use the tuning fork where you're testing where in the body have you stored this emotion. Are you storing it in your heart? Are you storing it in your brain?
Wow.
Okay, and then you take your tuning fork and you're essentially hitting your tuning fork and you're pulling the bad energy out, and then you're bringing it back into your field and you're bringing it back into your center with good energy so that you can use it for something good. And when you're holding it and realizing it's part of your journey and that you can heal from it, then you can use it. And then eventually the negative thoughts get better and the anxiety gets better and the panic gets better. And you realize that it's like you said, now I can emotionally, even if something comes into my head, I can either just kick it out or I don't feel tormented by it anymore.
Yeah.
And so that's what we've
Wow.
done. And sometimes it's worse. Sometimes it's better. It just depends on the day. Right now it's better. Like things have been going really well for a little while now. And I'm hoping it will stay that way. So that's what we've done for the trauma.
Wow, that's so interesting. I'm gonna have to do like, do you know how much research I have to do? I didn't know I was going to school. I'm just kidding. Um, okay, so tell me how you got into doing the Chronically Claire project.
Yes. So it's called the Chronically Care Project.
Oh, Care. Why did I think it was Chronically Claire?
Lots of people call it that because it sounds super catchy.
Oh my
This is
gosh. I've been saying it wrong.
yeah, so it's the Chronically Care Project.
That's so funny.
Basically, One of the things that I have found to be the hardest through this journey is the loneliness. Like the
Okay.
loneliness and the isolation. Like to this day, I'm getting better. I'm more normal. And yet finding friends, finding people that understand trauma, finding people that
Yeah.
want to enter into my journey with me and like love me through it is like it feels impossible some days. Like I have my
Yeah.
parents, and my parents are amazing, and they're the steady support in my life, and I'm so like God has blessed me greatly to have such good parents. But finding friends, finding people, it's like some days it feels so futile even to this day. But I felt that all
Mm.
along the way with my Lyme journey. And so I had just got an Instagram. I blogged long before I got an Instagram, actually, because
Okay.
I was just writing stuff about my journey and what I was going through. And I called it Chronically Beautiful because I didn't want to be labeled as chronically ill. I wanted to be labeled
Yeah.
as chronically beautiful. So that's what I named it. And I got an Instagram because I was going through a hard time and I was like, well, maybe it's time to like grow the blog or do something with that. And I got on Instagram and I started meeting all these incredible people in this community that like they're really sick, like sicker than I am. And yet they're these beautiful people and they're so kind. And I started to talk to people and I realized that, a lot of people struggle with loneliness through this disease.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
I did like like a 100 follower giveaway, like a giveaway to get more followers, essentially, where I bought like a Walmart blanket and like a mug or something. I don't even remember. And I did this giveaway to see if I could get more followers and like, meet some people. And I just remember when I reached out to that girl who won the giveaway, she was like so excited to get this Walmart blanket.
Oh.
And I was like, oh, like this is so fun. So one of the things I did while I was really sick is I got into every kind of craft under the sun, except for crochet. I can't crochet for the life of me, but everything else I do. And so I decided, like, me and my mom had bought a bunch of like fleece fabric because we were like, let's make blankets for people. We don't know who to make fleece blankets for, so we're sick. We don't have any friends, like. I was like, Mom, we should like make these blankets and give them to people who are chronically ill. So I made this blanket, and the first blanket I sent was in December of 2018 is when the Chronically Care Project started. I
Oh,
decided,
wow.
yeah, I was
That
gonna
was a
do
while ago.
I was gonna do blanket giveaways like once a month and give away a blanket or two once a month. And so I gave away this blanket and it was beautiful. And people always ask me, like, do you remember your first care package? And then I send them this picture of this blanket. I'm like, this is it. And so
Aw.
I did that. And so for the first year, which was 2019 and 2020, I started out sending one blanket a month, and then it was like addicting. So I would make 2 blankets to give in a giveaway, and then 3, and then like 4. And then eventually like the giveaways were like, I'm giving away like 20 blankets because I just couldn't stop.
Oh my
And
word.
just this blanket that was handmade made people so happy. And I just loved like the
Yeah.
smiles and the pictures. And I was like, this is so beautiful that these people feel loved by this blanket that I poured my heart
Yeah.
into. And so then in 2020, when COVID hit, I was like, this is more needed, like more than ever. And so I decided to do my first batch of 100 care packages, Christmas of 2020, I think. Yeah.
Wow.
And so basically I like pulled all the stops. I was like, I'm gonna craft like everything. I'm gonna do everything handmade. And it's really funny because I look back on those care packages and I feel like they weren't even really that good compared to what I do now. But I know that they really touched those people and I did what I could. And
Mm.
it was just incredible. And so then after that, I kind of went through a thing where I got off of social media because, like, you know how the world was back then. Everything was
Yeah,
stressful
yeah.
and it wasn't helping my health. And like, I just was like, I can't handle
Yeah.
anything right now. So I got off and I did some healing, some treatments on emotional healing and stuff like that. And I realized that one of the things that I needed to do to get better was to love other people and to help serve other people. And so that's
Wow,
when the
that's
Community
cool.
Care Project came back into my life. I was like, I need to do this. And
Yeah.
I was just going to send little care packages for my next batch. It was like last fall, I think. Anyway, I was just going to do like little bubble envelopes.
Yep.
But like once I started it, I had people just jump on board and they wanted to donate and they wanted to make things. My
Oh
big
my
thing is that
word.
most of my items for the Chronically Care Project are handmade. There's things that are
Yeah.
store bought, like the stuffed animals and the socks. I don't know. Yeah. But basically, a lot of it is handmade, and that makes it really, really special to people because they're getting something that is like unique. Like you're not going to buy, like I'm wearing one right now. This is a spoon necklace that I made with my laser engraver, and
Oh my
it's
gosh.
something that like you can't buy pretty much. And I don't sell them. So they're like just for care packages. And that makes people feel
Wow.
super special and connected to something. And so, I still send blankets, but I also send a bunch of things that are handmade, and people just started jumping on and saying, I want to make this and I want to make this. And so it's
Wow.
really, really cool because not only is it healing me and it's healing the people who are receiving, but people send me messages and they're like, I'm making this for your project and it's healing me. Like, I feel like I have a purpose to live for because I'm
Oh
doing this.
my gosh.
And so it's just this like giant healing circle that I feel like we've created. And it's just beautiful. I feel like we need to just like sit together and sing Kumbaya or something. Like, it's just so wonderful because it's just this big cycle of healing that we've started. And then people
Wow.
get care packages, and again it heals me because I get to see their smile, but it also heals all the people that they made that item. They're like, oh, now this person has my item that I made, and that's so cool. And then it heals the person getting the package too. So it's just this big cycle, and it's beautiful. And I basically this year I had a very generous lawyer come along in the community that he offered to help me go nonprofit because I don't have the money for that and I don't know
Okay, yeah.
remotely how to do that. And so he just offered to help me out. I was like, I don't know anything about doing a nonprofit. And he's like, well, that's why I'm here to do it. I was like, oh my goodness, wait, are you kidding? And he basically set up my nonprofit for me. So I went like official nonprofit this year,
Wow.
which was a huge step. Like he might as well have just like given me the moon as a gift because I'm just been on cloud nine ever since because it's opened so many doors. So like I received my first like $2,500 donation this year.
That's so
huge.
awesome.
Like I just barely started my nonprofit, and then I got a $2,500 check in the mail, and I was like, "Oh my goodness!" Like it just opened a big door because people take you seriously when you're an actual nonprofit, and
Yeah,
like
yeah.
I have businesses that I work with that they're really supportive. And they call me up and they're like, "Do you need anything? Like, what do you need for your?"
Wow. Yeah, you can get so many like donations, especially towards the end of the year, to go into your care
Yeah.
packages.
And so it's been really amazing just to see everybody hop on board. And like, even for this next batch, the February batch, I have barely even like I've bought things to go in them, but I haven't even started making stuff. And there's people like in the US that are sitting in their beds making stuff and they're deathly, deathly sick. And they're making stuff for the next batch of care packages. And it's just so heartwarming to me that
Oh
so
my
many people want to
gosh.
get involved and that they're catching the vision. They're seeing that like I'm lonely, but like if I give my love to this lonely person, then they're not lonely and then I'm not lonely. And again, it's just a big cycle.
Yeah.
So it's
Holy
been a
cow.
really, really beautiful journey and it's really addicting. I can't stop. Like I'm like, so
Yeah, that's so good.
I've sent 500 care packages total. That's not including
Wow.
blankets. So with blankets, it's probably more like 700 total. And
Holy
then
cow.
next year, my goal is to send 500 care packages in 1 year. So it's
Yeah,
going
that's
to
awesome. You can totally do that.
Yeah, it's going to be huge because I've never sent that many in 1 year, but it's also, I really think we can do it just because we have so many
Yeah.
people that they jump on regularly and they're like, can I help? Can I help? And I'm like, yeah, you can totally help. That'd be amazing. And
Wow.
it's just really built a beautiful community of people who, we all hear that phrase that hurt people hurt people. And I'm
Yeah.
ready to say, let's start a new movement that hurt people heal people because
Yeah.
we know what it's like to hurt. Like I
Yeah.
don't want other people to feel the isolation and the loneliness that I feel. I want them to know that they're loved and that they're cared for. And when they feel that, it opens a door to healing. And so
Yeah.
that's what I want to do is start that movement that hurt people, heal people, because we know what it's
Wow.
like. Like, let's not become bitter and take out our bitter resentment about life on other people. Instead, let's get better. Let's get softer. Let's get kinder because we know the pain. Like, we do not want to inflict that on other people. So let's get
Yeah.
that. And I think as we do that, I would say the Chronically Care Project is a healing protocol for me just as much as all the other stuff that I just talked about. Because
Mhm.
when you learn to serve and love other people, it's like God opens your heart to a whole new door of healing that you never knew existed,
Yeah.
and a whole new door of living where essentially you realize that life is not all about yourself. And when you're
Yeah.
young, when you're young, life is all about you. Like it's all about me, 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 me. I always say like it's not all about you. Like I try to tell that to people, but it sounds a little harsh, but it's true. Like it's
Mhm.
about helping others and loving others. And when you do that, it changes the world one person at a time. And that's what I want to do. I want to change the world. And I know I'm just making a tiny dent in it right now, but if I can
No,
change
it's
one person in the
so
world, that's worth
good.
it. So,
It's so good, and you're helping other people, like, yeah, like you said, by obviously giving them the care packages, but then
mhm.
also by like helping, or I don't know, like letting people participate. That's so cool you have people helping you make the stuff for the care
Yeah,
packages.
it's really amazing. The one
Wow.
thing I've seen too is just God's provision in it all. Seeing that, like,
Mm.
okay, I worry, I'm a worrier. So, I'm like, oh, am I gonna have enough money? Am I gonna have enough stuff to put in these boxes? Am I gonna? But every single time I'm worried about something, God always provides. He always sends a miracle. He always gives me what I need. And so it tells me that, like, I'm doing His work and that He is making it possible. I'm chronically ill. I have a job. Like, I I don't even know how I do this some days. Some days I'm like, how am I doing this? But I do it through His provision. And it's just really amazing
Yeah.
because it's not just me. Like, all glory to Him and His miracles that He pours out on this project and onto this entire community. And one thing it tells me is that people will reject us when we're chronically ill, but God never, ever will. Like, He's aware of us and He loves us and He wants us to um, know that we are loved and that we matter and that we're not defined by this disease that is not our fault. And so
Yeah.
all those things that I've learned through doing this nonprofit has just been so healing to me. And I try to share them with other people. And I think that it heals other people too when they hear these lessons that I'm learning from doing this and the things that these beautiful people who are really ill, they teach me all the time. And so it's just an incredible experience. Like, if I could spend the rest of my life doing this, I will, because I love it so much.
That's so cool. Wow, I'm so excited to like share whenever we have like your podcast episode come out and stuff like that. Like share everything you're doing, and
Mhm.
yeah, I don't know. It'd be cool to somehow figure out if we could like partner, whether it's like
Yeah,
at an event or have you at an event or something with your packages, or I don't know. We can totally talk about it after,
yeah,
but
it'd be
I think
awesome.
that's so awesome. I think it's really cool too that that lawyer came along and was like, "Hey, I'm going to help you," because
That
that's
alone
like a
is a
lot of weight
miracle.
off. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's really
it's
awesome.
a huge miracle. Like, like, you might as well have given me the moon. I was like, just on cloud nine for forever. I'm still
That's
on
so
cloud nine
cool.
about it.
Oh my gosh. I have two friends that I wrote down that I have to put you in touch with because you remind me like so much of them, and I think you guys would get along so well. They both have Lyme too. But so one thing I was thinking about is I can't remember if I've talk to you about it or not. And it will be live by the time this episode is out. But I have it's just like a free member portal online community for people with Lyme. So, really, anyone that
Mhm.
wants to be part of the I Love the Wee Lyme community. And so, what we would do is like, I don't know if you know anyone with Lyme in Utah, but we make a state for every state that someone's in there, and then have it'll populate, whoever's in
Yeah,
Utah and has Lyme near you. But then also you can totally connect with like these other people online. So I'm hoping that, like you said, like Lyme can feel really lonely. A lot of times it is, and I just shouldn't be, like, especially when there's so many of
mhm.
us. And I know Instagram, for me, that's how I've met everyone in the Lyme community.
Yeah,
But
same.
but the reason for the member portal is like it's hard to remember everyone's usernames. You don't know where everyone lives. And so I'm like, why
Right.
isn't this a thing already? So it'll just be so easy for everyone to log in and see who's all there. There'll be like different location groups and stuff like that. So I'm hoping that obviously that's not going to like there's not one thing to solve the loneliness, but I
Right.
am hoping that that helps like us all be able to like connect easier together and stuff like that. So I'd love for you
Yeah,
to
I think it will.
um get on that if you want. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Wow, there's so many good things. And I was going to ask, so usually the one of the last things I ask is if you have any recommendations, but then I remembered I have this whole sheet of recommendations of
Okay.
like protocols and stuff. Do you have anything else that you can think of? I know sometimes people even like give like books or podcasts or anything.
Mhm.
Anything else that you might recommend?
Sure. Yeah. I think my biggest recommendation, this sounds probably really cliche, but I tell people the first thing you should do when you get Lyme is change your diet. Like,
Yeah.
this is why I'm farming, is so that I can eat organic and refined sugar free. And that's it. And
Yeah.
people, it's always like, oh, you got to go gluten-free. And, I was gluten-free, meat-free, sugar-free, dairy-free. I was everything free at one point.
Yeah.
And I just want everyone to know that, like, you don't need to spend your whole life being everything free when it comes
Yeah.
to eating.
Yeah.
Okay. Because it's a matter of eating whole, organic, I would even say locally bought things, because it's the pesticides and the GMOs and the things that are damaging us and are damaging our systems. And so I went on every diet under the sun. I went on keto, fat-free, gluten-free,
Yeah.
vegan, whatever. I've been on all of it. But at the end of the day, I eat organic and I don't eat refined sugars, and I
Yeah.
eat really good food. And it gave me a piece of myself back, because I love food. I really love
Yeah.
food. And but I got to get a piece of myself back just eating organic, because you can still learn how to cook, gain that skill. You'll get well when you eat better. The first thing I got back was my brain health. Like, I had horrible brain fog, and just giving up sugar, it was like, oh, I can think. Like, whoa.
Wow. Crazy.
Yeah. So that's a really, really big thing. And I think that would be my biggest recommendation for people. Go organic.
Cool.
Like,
Yeah, no,
I know.
that's a good one. That's a good one. Honestly, to hear, like, I feel like I took a sigh of relief, but I'm sure other people will when they hear, because, like, you do feel like you have to go gluten free. I totally agree with the refined sugar, because I notice a huge difference in my pain when I, like, allow myself to have it. The gluten thing I can't figure out, because my stomach, I can handle it, and I used to not be able to. So I'm like, is it
Right.
bad? Is it not bad? But yeah,
Sure.
and the meat thing, you just feel like you have to go off of everything. And when I look back, I was the most miserable and my body was the worst when I was everything free. And then
Yeah.
you're taking like these supplements and trying to feed your body while
Yeah.
not feeding your body.
Let me tell you this too, because I feel like when I share this with people, it opens the door for them, and they're like, what, really? Okay, so if you're
Mm,
struggling with gluten, first of all, it's not the gluten. Like, there's it's like 2% of people that actually have celiac disease. The rest of the gluten-free people, it's not
mm.
celiac. If you're celiac, I would say, okay, maybe you got to be gluten-free. But I really, really believe that it has everything to do with what they put into our grains and into our.
Yeah, yeah, I completely agree.
If you are struggling with gluten and you're struggling with whole wheat, try ancient grains. So spelt, kamut, einkorn, they have less gluten in them,
Oh,
but they have less, and they're ancient grains. So they haven't had like all of this extra junk put into them. Like, lots of them are very, very pure. We buy our own spelt and kamut and einkorn, and we grind it ourselves, and we make the best bread. Like, spelt
oh,
is
wow.
purpose flour, because it gives you that beautiful fluffy buttery texture, but then it's spelt, like, it's really healthy for you. It has tons of nutrients in it, and it's not giving you all that extra junk that has been added to our wheats. So try spelt. Like, that would be my first thing. You got to learn how to cook
Okay.
it a little different. It's a little more moist than like a whole wheat flour is, so like, you got to work with it and learn how to make like a good dough out of it. But once you get it down, it's like, I can eat dinner rolls that taste like Chuckarama dinner rolls, but they're not. They're healthy for you.
Oh my gosh, I'm
It tastes-
totally gonna try this. I learned how to make bread last year and I became obsessed and I was just making bread all the time. But I used like organic, but I used regular flour. It was like
Mhm.
organic and I still didn't feel good. So I'll totally try spelt.
Yeah, try the
It's cool.
ancient grains, because the ancient grains have never hurt me or my mom's stomach. And the few people that have Lyme that we have had try like our spelt rolls or our spelt bread, it doesn't hurt them. So like, I
That's
think that's
cool.
a pretty good deal. Like, try it, just try
Yeah.
it and see if it works, because it definitely works for us.
Awesome. Love it. Okay,
Mhm.
so last, do you want to share we'll like tag obviously all your social media and your website and stuff, but do you want to share your handle and then wherever people can find you?
Yes. My handle is Chronically Claire. So that's CHRONICLY_Claire, CLAIRE. So that's my Instagram handle. And then my blog is chronicallybeautifullife.com, where you can just type in Chronically Beautiful. It'll be the first thing that comes up. If you want to look at the Chronically Care Project specifically, it's just chronicallybeautifullife.com/Chronically Care Project. And that's where you'll find everything you need to know. If you're ever interested in donating to the Chronically Care Project, you can either fill out the donation application that is on my website, or you can just DM me on Instagram. Many people don't even fill out that application, so it's totally okay if you just want to DM me on Instagram. You can also find me on Facebook at Chronically Beautiful. And I post regular updates to my story and to my feed about care packages. February 11th is when our next batch of care packages go live. So if you want to donate or if you want to apply for a care package, it's a good date to know. And basically, I update all the time on Instagram. So just stay tuned and join our beautiful community of people that I talk to every day, because it's just so fun to interact and to just do this as a community. So
Nice. Cool. Thanks so much for being on. I love this conversation. It's like almost an hour and a half long, but I swear it flew by.
yeah, for real.
I love it. Cool. It was great meeting you.
Yes, thank you so much for having me on. I have absolutely enjoyed this, and I hope it helps the people that listen to it. And seriously, guys, if you ever want to jump into the Chronically Care Project, it would be awesome. I would love it. And all of us who do it together, we'd love to have you join us. So,
Sweet. Okay. Go follow Claire. All right. I'll see you later.
all right, see ya.